Pathos of Things exists to make high quality intentional garments for those who are actively shaping culture across mediums, across moments. Wow. That just tightened up my brand messaging so much. I'm going to turn this into ad copy and text for emails. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. If you are new here, I run a brand called Pathos of Things. I'm the creative director, designer, marketer. I run the whole brand basically by myself. And I also run a free Skool community called Brand OS. It's based on this multi-part system that I built to manage every aspect of my fashion brand, from design to marketing to fulfillment. I break it all down in detail for free on my channel and inside the community. Recently, I dropped a more hands-on version of the first section. It's called Brand Foundations. It's a Notion workspace and AI assistant that helps you figure out your brand identity, audience, product line, and positioning without getting lost in all the fluffy YouTube content that's out there. Feel free to join the free Skool community. From there, you can find the full Notion and AI workspace that I'll break down in this video. So after you download the full Notion workspace for yourself, it's going to open up like this in your browser. All you have to do is press these two little square buttons to duplicate this Notion workspace into your own Notion account. Then once you have this template in your own Notion workspace, it should look like this. In this video, we're going to cover step 1, where we set up the AI assistant, and step 2, where we build out the full identity profile. And I'm going to use my own brand as the example to show you guys that this can be done at any level of owning a brand and running a brand, from complete beginner to more intermediate, which is where I would consider my brand to be, to even more advanced brands. I picked Notion because it is free and very user-friendly. And then also we're going to use ChatGPT as our main AI. Creating a custom project for this workspace will allow us to tweak the behavior of the AI, feed it information and documents specific to our business, and provide way more context so the assistant is actually helpful. Here's how you can set up your AI brand coach in under 10 minutes with no coding required. I did pretty much all of the work for you. So let's open up this create your custom GPT project toggle. Go to chatgpt.com, click the plus button next to projects in the left sidebar, create a new project and name it Fashion Brand Personal Assistant. Here we are, chatgpt.com. You might not have the custom GPT set up here, so if it doesn't look exactly like mine, don't worry. Just scroll down to projects, press the plus button for create new project, and name this Fashion Brand Personal Assistant. Create project. Okay, nice. So now we have our project laid out, but it's completely empty. We need to add instructions and a system prompt to steer the AI in the right direction. So if we go back to the Notion document, click on add instructions and paste the prompt below there. So I have this long XML prompt that you can just copy and paste into your custom instructions. So I copied that. Now I'm going to press add instructions, paste that here. Now we have this really awesome prompt engineered system prompt in XML format. This already is going to be really powerful. So we can close that tab for now. The next tab here says feed your assistant context as you build. This is highly recommended. You can add files to this custom project, and then ChatGPT can reference those files at any time. You can also upload things like PDFs and screenshots directly from your computer. These models now have vision, meaning if you feed it a photo, it can actually scan and see the photo and process the contents of the image. I also listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of these starter workflows just to give you some quick inspiration. Feel free to just copy and paste these into the GPT assistant. That's not what I want to focus on. What I want to focus on and show you is my workflow. So I'm going to put Notion and ChatGPT here in the same window, and then I'm going to drag them like this so they're resized. So now I have the Fashion Brand Personal Assistant on the right, and I have the Notion workspace on the left. Okay, now let's go back to the main dashboard. We just finished step 1. At least that was the quick and dirty version just for this video. Feel free to take your time with it. For now, this is good enough for us to start. And to move on to step 2, which is the brand identity builder. So if you click on step 2, it takes you to this page, and now we're really gonna cook. Right off the bat, we see these 4 main sections: the mission, vision, and value section, positioning map, the tone of voice selector, and a self-audit. Taking your time and being methodical with this and going step by step is going to be really important, because if you set up the brand identity builder correctly, it's going to make it really easy for you to then go to the next step, which is identifying your audience. And then when you go to step 4 and you're studying your competitors, you have lots of really good information for this section. When you work with it and talk with the AI, you end up feeding all the information from step 2 to step 3. And then you feed all the information from step 2 and step 3 to the AI in step 4. Over each step, you keep adding context to this big project. The AI will have lots of really good ideas for you because it really understands your style and your brand. So the first step in the mission, vision, and value section is this mission exercise to help define the brand's deeper purpose and what it stands for. These are internal and not for your Instagram bio, so don't worry about writing captions or your tone of voice for social media or anything like that. This is way before we even get to that. So the first question in the mission exercise is, what change are you trying to create? I'm going to fill out this mission exercise myself, and I'm going to use a software called Whisperflow to speak directly into the document instead of having to type it out. I want to build my own subculture of creative professionals that work in various mediums of entertainment and art, including but not limited to music, fashion, fine art, and film. I will unite like-minded people through clothing and content. Okay, short but sweet. Now let's move on to the who are you here to serve section. I'm here to serve young creative professionals like myself. I want to connect with, inspire, and be inspired by people that create culture and not just consume it. All right, what do you make that no one else does? I make a specific style of streetwear that's a cross between Eddie Salomon, Dior style, rock star, and modern hip-hop inspired luxury streetwear. I make a specific style of formal streetwear that utilizes a zero-waste design process in cutting-edge 3D technology. The style is specific to me as a founder because I am the customer archetype of the brand. So as long as I do what is authentic to me, it will always feel unique in some way. Okay, so that was very quick for just the mission exercise. So the first question in the vision exercise is, what does the world look like when your brand succeeds? When my brand succeeds, more creative professionals will be empowered through fashion and media, but the garments are wearable enough to be staple pieces in the wardrobe of a creative professional that values quality, craftsmanship, but also price, because the consumer is pragmatic and doesn't splurge on clothing for the sake of spending money. They are not typically conspicuous consumers. What long-term cultural or emotional shift do you want to help shape? I want to see more representation of polymath entrepreneurs. I want people to see that it's possible to achieve expertise in multiple domains, and that cross-pollinating skills across fields like fashion, music, and media is actually a superpower rather than hyper-focusing on one niche or industry. I am the perfect example. I went to music school, was a touring drummer, and now I'm a fashion designer, creative director, and brand owner. I want to connect with more people like me and inspire more people like me to eliminate the stigma that you need to go to school, focus on one subject, and become an expert in that subject in order to have a sustainable career. Okay, that one was a little bit of a mouthful, but we'll refine it. It's better to just get it down on paper. Let's move on to the values exercise. Pick 3 to 5 values that matter most. I like witty captions. I like being a little bit mysterious, a little edgy, but clean. And transparent. I love sharing my process, and I share everything about my manufacturer and who I work with on my website and on social media. So let's go with this. Transparency, elegance, edge, craft and design, premium materials and price point, founder-led, smart, intelligence. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, 7 values. Okay, so now that we've filled out the mission, vision, values exercises, let's copy and paste all of this information into the fashion brand assistant and start actually breaking it down and discussing it. So far, all we've really done is brainstorm. We haven't gone deeper yet. We can follow this example prompt here. Here's the key mission, vision, and values that matter to me and my brand the most. Let's discuss how I can embody these values in all touch points while remaining authentic. What additional information can I provide to you in order for you to best help me gain clarity? We'll separate this with the 2 dashes, then I'll go down here, add the other 2 dashes, and then I'm going to copy and paste this entire section of the document into this chat, and then I'm going to press enter. Great. This is a strong foundation. It's personal, specific, and has depth, but to make it truly usable across all brand touchpoints, content, community, product, user experience, customer service, copywriting, we need to tighten a few areas and fill in some missing pieces. What's missing or needs clarifying? The creative subculture. What makes it yours? You say you want to build a subculture of creative professionals, but there's a gap between the vision and the mechanism. What are the unspoken norms, aesthetics, behaviors, or rituals of this group? For example, are they obsessed with the process more than the clout? Are they nostalgic about analog gear but work in digital? Do they move between gallery openings and late night studio sessions? What signals that someone is in this subculture? This is where style, language, references, and content all start aligning. Right now, the brand could use a sharper cultural edge that defines who's in the know. Without this, it risks being aesthetic forward creative wear rather than a brand that shapes cultural identity. I'm coming into this with a pretty fresh perspective. I released the first drop in a new collection on the 25th, so I'm still kind of buzzing off the high of that, and this is going to definitely put me in my place and humble me because there are always things to work on that I don't notice. And already I agree with this. Even though everything looks good and I'm happy with the photos and the drop, there are always things that can improve. So we'll unpack that, but let's keep going. Your polymath positioning, a philosophy or a flex. The polymath concept is powerful, but to be more than a personal anecdote, it needs to become a brand worldview. Ask yourself, how does the brand teach, embody, or celebrate this worldview? Are there rituals, content formats, or collabs that reinforce this idea? Can your garments act as uniforms for multi-hyphenate creatives? Could your campaign spotlight other polymaths? If cross-disciplinary excellence is a pillar, you can't just say you need to design for it. So I think the design aspect and the aesthetic aspect is close. I think a lot of creative people like the style that I make. In order to teach, embody, and celebrate this worldview, I think I should feature more multi-hyphenate creators, or just feature more of the creators that I work with in general. I started doing that a lot more on this last drop. I had some content roll out and I tagged everybody and I showcased some of the work of all the other people. But I think if I were to take it even further to really embody and celebrate the worldview, I should interview these people more. It'd be cool to have not necessarily a podcast. I don't know if I want to start a podcast, but if I just did more workshops that featured hands-on stuff with the photographers that I hire for my brand or the art director that I hire, I think that would tie it in a lot. As far as the garments acting as uniforms for multi-hyphenate creatives, I think I need to look more into the spaces where these people work. The last drop, I wanted it to be something you could wear to the office, drinks after, and then to the club after, if that's your thing. I try to make it versatile, but also a little more nuanced and elevated, so it's not quite just streetwear, but it's also not quite formal wear either. To put it into perspective, I wore the Umbra trousers to the club this weekend, and I'm also going to wear them to my cousin's wedding next weekend. So it's something I'll think about and refine more as I go. Could your campaign spotlight other polymaths? So I already kind of do that. I spotlight a bunch of people involved in the team. But until I get a bigger budget, that team is going to be pretty small. It's really just going to be me, photographer, model, producer slash art director, and then hair and makeup artist. Like I usually keep the team to 5 people tops. But yes, I also agree with this. I need to start implementing it into the system design, not just the garment design, but my whole overarching system of what the brand is and what the brand stands for. Part 3. Great brands have a core tension or belief that drives every decision. A few directions to refine. You believe in craft but reject the elitism of traditional luxury. You're formal but edgy. You're technically advanced 3D zero waste but emotionally driven. Let's distill these into a brand thesis that acts as a filter for every creative decision. We believe the future belongs to creative generalists, those who master many mediums and design their own identities. Our garments are made for them. I love that. Would you like help refining your version of this thesis? I'm going to say yes. I want to elaborate on this more, but I want to keep reading this. What you've done well. Your mission has real energy. Building community through fashion and media is solid. Your vision speaks to believable cultural shift, not just a business goal. Your values are clear. We can tighten how they get expressed. How this shows up across touch points. Here's how you can embody the above across all touch points. Website copy, product design, Instagram bio, campaigns, packaging, unboxing, community building, and email flows. I will take these and put them here in the document. Let's go down here. I'm going to add a new heading. Let's do heading toggle 2. I'm going to call this AI brainstorm, and then I will paste this table. So now I have all these notes that I can reference later, but I'll add some more space because we can keep going. At the bottom here, we see to best help you from here. Here's what would make my input even more strategic. Reference points. What other brands, creators, or collectives do you respect? Not for their clothes, but their positioning. The positioning map is the next section, so that's actually good timing. We can get into that. Then tone preference. Do you want the brand tone to lean more poetic, clinical, rebellious, understated? The tone section is here as well, so we can get to that. And then visual aesthetic and content strategy. So I'm going to say for reference points, tone preference, visual aesthetic, and content strategy, let's bookmark that and come back to it. For now, let's discuss the brand thesis. I really like the direction so far. Let's discuss it in more detail so I can really internalize it. Perfect. A strong brand thesis should do 4 things. Declare your worldview. What belief about the world and your audience do you hold that most people overlook or undervalue? Create tension. Great brands stand at the intersection of opposites, elegance and edge, discipline and rebellion, art and commerce specifically. Call in your people. It should feel like a code only your true audience would resonate with. An identity signal. Guide every decision. From product to packaging to social captions, this statement should act as a creative compass based on everything you've shared. Pathos of Things exists for the creative polymath, the ones who blend disciplines, define niches, and design their own identity. We make formal streetwear for people who see clothing as both utility and signal. Built to move between art shows, studios, dinner parties, and nightclubs. Every piece is rooted in intentional craft and emotional depth, because we believe timeless style emerges at the edge where refinement meets risk. So that's really solid copy. It's a little pro for me. I think I would maybe make the vernacular a little more casual. I also would change this from we make to I make. I've been doing everything in the first person perspective because I run the brand pretty much by myself. So yeah, changing that to first person, taking out these M dashes. Here we could see the breakdown of why saying creative polymath works. That's the specific identity in my tribe that I'm calling out to, so I want to directly call out to them. I'm challenging the dominant niche down narrative. Nails the category and the functional/emotional role of the clothes. Sets context. These are social settings of influence and cultural capital by saying things like at art shows or in nightclubs. Reinforcing the design values and the name origin, Pathos of Things, and distills that tension that defines the aesthetic where refinement meets risk. It's clean, but it's edgy. It's quiet and simple, but it's super loud and paired with rap music at the same time. So to internalize this, I read it out loud. I identified several things that I would change, things that didn't feel authentic to me, things that I would do instead to make it feel more authentic. That's really the goal. It's to internalize these things and realize them as you're making them. Okay, so let's take a break from the AI assistant for a second and go back to the Notion document and move on to this positioning map. So this will help you define where you fit in the fashion landscape, or rather the environment of other brands that are your competitors. There's a certain amount of market share. Everybody is trying to eat up a percentage of that market share. The best brands get the most market share and make the most money. So I made this chart comparing myself to an aspirational brand and then an aspirational brand above that. I have my own, and then I have Rude and Dior. If I were to add to this, I would add Elwood and probably Pool House, New York. Like, that's probably more realistic than adding like Rude or Dior. So let's continue with the next part of the exercise, the what makes my brand different part. This is probably going to be the most difficult part for everybody. It was the most difficult part for me. It's something I'm still working on. Let me take a crack at this. I believe my brand is different because I am the customer archetype and the founder. I design clothes for myself and the people within my community. I design all the garments using cutting-edge technology despite no formal fashion design education. This way, I can provide a premium alternative to the current streetwear market, targeting creative professionals that need a uniform for most of their daily activities. The influencers I work with and creative professionals I outsource certain aspects of the brand to are mostly tied to the music industry, which has been a unique opportunity for me because not many music industry professionals I know have close ties to clothing brands. So as these creative professionals grow, I'm growing with them and providing them with clothes they wear on stage, to events, and in professional work settings like studio sessions. Okay, now let's do this. Ask your GPT assistant to critique your positioning. So I'm going to copy and paste this paragraph I just made here with the little dashes, and then I'm going to copy and paste this here. It says critique my brand positioning, challenge my assumptions, and provide potential criticisms that I should be aware of. Anything I'm missing, anything I can tighten up, I want my message to be clear. Okay, this is already more thoughtful than most early brand positioning work. Nice. But let's pressure test this like a strategist, not a cheerleader. Brand positioning critique. 1. I am the customer, a strength and a risk. Being your own archetype means taste and quality control are aligned. It gives the brand an authenticity that trend-chasing brands lack. You understand the lifestyle, values, and unspoken needs of your audience because you're living it. Risk. You might over-index on personal taste and underdevelop brand systems that scale beyond you. If your style evolves or plateaus, how will the brand evolve without losing direction? I design for myself isn't a positioning unless the self is already a powerful cultural symbol. Tyler Kanye ASAP. Okay, so nice. ChatGPT just humbled me and said, basically, you're not that guy, pal. At least not yet. Recommendation, anchor your personal story in a shared identity. For example, I'm designing for creative professionals like me, those navigating client meetings, late night edits, and stage lights all in one day. Zero fashion education, cutting edge tech, attention that needs clarity. Okay. So the strength here, great narrative, self-taught, scrappy, modern, a new kind of fashion. Tech savvy equals fast iteration, lean design, and innovative workflows. But the risk is that this could undermine perceived legitimacy if not paired with visible quality or aesthetic edge. Cutting edge tech is vague unless shown. Clo3D AI, 3D knitting, zero waste patterns. These need to show up visibly in product or content. So, okay, nice. I already have that figured out. I make tons of content about AI. I make content about Clo3D. I post tons of videos about the Clo3D process, like the little time-lapse videos of the Clo3D process. Zero waste patterns. Yes. Okay. All that is good. Lean into the new school designer positioning. You are the post-institutional creative director. Not trained the old way, but still obsessed with excellence. Yes, I agree with that. Number 3, targeting creative professionals. Is this too broad? Probably. You're clearly targeting people who create culture, not passively consume it. Creative professional, though, is a wide spectrum. A wedding photographer, a CGI artist, and a drummer may have wildly different lives and wardrobes. That's true. You risk becoming a jack of all scenes brand that lacks an iconic aesthetic. Narrow your focus or elevate your POV. My focus includes fashion for touring musicians, producers, and the people building the sound of a generation. Okay, so let's going more into the music niche. Or elevating the POV, position the brand as a uniform for cross-disciplinary creatives who refuse to be boxed in by genre, geography, or job title. That resonates with me more. I don't want to just go into the touring musicians, producers, and the people building a sound of a generation. I want those people to be included, right? But not limited to those people. Music industry connections is an underleveraged advantage. Okay. Strength. This is unique. Most fashion brands clout chase big music names. You're growing with them, organic, real, and earned. But there's risk not being talked about publicly if no one knows these people who are wearing the clothes. It's a missed opportunity. Could remain anecdotal unless codified in your brand story and community building efforts. Okay. Recommendation would be build subtle rituals of storytelling around this. Pathos in the Studio series, BTS content of creatives wearing the clothes while working. Feature music in your lookbooks or runway shows. Okay, so I've been doing this where I put music that I produce in Ableton as the background music for my brand's promotional materials, and that's been really cool. That's been a nice way for me to bridge that gap. I think I could go even further with this. Just off the top of my head, I'm thinking of maybe doing a collab, like a merch collab. I did that with the artist Sayak Das 2 summers ago. We did a custom one-of-one piece for a big show he did in Brooklyn. It would be even more lit if we did a whole custom line of shirts and hats for his tour or something like that. Another thing I thought of doing was producing music with some of the artists, like one of the rappers I work with, and then shooting a music video for that song, co-directing the music video, and then styling the artist in clothes I design. That sounds like a really cool idea to me, but it's just taking more time than I thought. But I'll get there. So this is giving me some more clarity, some ideas. It's bringing some ideas back. It's kind of pointing me in the right direction, I'd say. And then overall clarity upgrades. Here's a tighter articulation of your positioning. Pathos of Things is a founder-led uniform for modern polymaths, creative professionals who work across music, fashion, and art. Designed by someone living the same lifestyle. Each piece blends technical precision with emotional resonance. Our clothes are worn by musicians on stage, producers in studios, and creatives at events, built to move through every moment that matters. This statement reflects your founder-led credibility, a defined audience, your aesthetic and technical priorities, the cultural settings where your clothes show up. Would you like to refine a one-sentence brand positioning for this? Or develop a why us paragraph for your about page or pitch deck? I recommend that you get in there and play around with the tone of voice selector yourself, but let's jump to this why now, why you self-audit, which is like what this why us paragraph is referring to, and then we'll wrap. So these questions in this self-audit are difficult questions to answer, and it's okay if you don't know the answer to them right away, but that's good because you want to work through these difficult questions and get clarity on them and work them out. So I'm going to try answering these, and then we can discuss it a little bit with the assistant. What frustrated you enough to start this brand? I was frustrated buying clothes from other brands that didn't quite fit right and weren't my style. I had an evolving style and I wanted to experiment with different styles, and the only way for me to find my true style was by creating my own clothes and going through different iterations of the brand. Why does this matter right now in culture? This matters because it has never been easier for someone to start a brand or business with AI and the internet. I'm utilizing this brand to connect with other creative professionals to create awesome art and make a living based on my vision and aesthetic. This is the perfect opportunity for me to change my life through fashion and media. And I don't want to miss that opportunity or have regrets in the future. After sitting and reading this one over again, I think my idea is selfish. I answered this by making it about me, like it's the perfect opportunity for me to change my life through fashion. But that doesn't necessarily mean I'm actually going to change culture. So let me rethink this one and then re-answer. Let me revisit this first question because each of these is going to build upon the next. I was frustrated buying clothes from other brands that didn't quite fit right and work on my style. I typically only buy clothes online, but social media brands don't always have high quality or they're drop shipping stores in disguise. So this is actually a good opportunity to ask ChatGPT. I'm currently having some cognitive dissonance trying to answer the question about why my brand idea matters right now in culture without being selfish. For example, I initially answered the question by saying, now is the time. It's never been easier to start a business. And I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. But that is center focused and not necessarily about my impact on culture. I know that I want to create clothing for creative polymaths like myself. That's pretty much what we've been discussing this whole time. But distilling that into why it matters outside of me saying, oh, well, I wanted to change up my wardrobe or I wanted something that was specific for me or specific for my community is not tied into the greater mission. So I was wondering if you could help me gain some clarity on that. This is the exact kind of tension most founder-led brands run into when they're doing it for real. You're not chasing hype, you're trying to make meaning. That's the difference between a product and a cultural artifact. Let's unpack your cognitive dissonance and then build clarity from it. Why you're stuck. You're oscillating between personal motivation, I want to build something for people like me, and cultural relevance. Why does the world need this right now? You're worried that I want this isn't enough, but it is if you articulate what your desire reveals about the culture. Great brands often start from a personal need, but become powerful when they mirror a collective shift. Let's reframe. What if it's not about you? Let's try this approach. You're not starting a brand because it's easier with AI. You're starting it because more people like you are realizing they can do many things well, and they need clothing that keeps up with that identity. You're not capitalizing on a tech moment. You're serving a creative class that's breaking old rules about career paths, about professionalism, about how identity shows up in clothing. Cultural insight that I can steal. Here's one way to put it. In a world obsessed with specialization, the polymath is making a comeback. We're entering an era where creators aren't just one thing. They're musicians who design, designers who direct, directors who DJ. The old dress codes don't apply anymore. What does a modern day creative uniform look like? That's what Pathos of Things is answering. The old rules of work and identity are dissolving. We're designing uniforms for the next era of culture makers. Those who refuse to be just one thing. That's your why now. Okay. So let's put that into this box. Use this structure if it helps. People are no longer X, they are now Y. But fashion hasn't caught up. Pathos of Things exists to Z. The world is shifting. Creative professionals are no longer just artists or workers. They're hybrids, shapeshifters, brand builders. But most clothing is still made for passive consumers or status chasers. Pathos of Things exists to make high-quality, intentional garments for those who are actively shaping culture across mediums, across moments. Wow. Okay, so that just tightened up my brand messaging so much. I'm going to turn this into ad copy and text for emails. I'm really going to sit with this and workshop this and go even deeper on what it means to represent creative professionals and creative polymaths. I'm feeling super motivated and energized to create the next product for my drop. This is only the first part of this Brand Foundations OS, or rather the first and second part. All we did so far is set up the AI assistant and go through the brand identity builder section. Then after that, there's step 3 to find your audience, step 4, study competitors, plan your clothing line, and then the brand filter checklist. Questions to ask yourself: should I make this? Should I post this? Should I say yes to this for every product you launch? piece of content you post and collab you filter through. Definitely go and check this out. This is in the Skool. The Skool is free to join, but the Brand Foundation's OS template and AI assistant is not free, but it's pretty affordable. It's only $97. You could get it on my Gumroad. It's going to save you hundreds of hours just in research and gaining clarity. So be sure to join the Skool. Be sure to check out my Gumroad for this product. Hit me with a DM on Skool. Leave a comment on YouTube if you want me to cover something in the future, if you have a specific question, and I'll see you in the next one.